I swear I still hear the thud. It was sharp, like a small body hitting steps too fast, and then the scraping slide that followed it. I spun around so fast my vision blurred, and there was my 8-year-old son, Mason, curled at the bottom of the staircase, his little hands shaking as he tried to push himself up. His sock had caught the edge of the top stair, one tiny misstep, and he went tumbling straight down. Before I could reach him, before I could even gasp, my dad's voice came from behind me, bored and annoyed like Mason had interrupted his sleep. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video? Oh, please. Boys fall. Walk it off, he barked, cracking open another soda, not even looking toward the stairs. My mom didn't move either. She stayed sitting at the table, peeling the label off a wine bottle like she was at some spa retreat instead of watching her grandson tremble on the floor. Honestly, she muttered, rolling her eyes, he's dramatic like you. A little fall and he acts like he's dying. Mason whimpered, trying to lift his knee. His voice cracked. Mom, it hurts. I ran to him, kneeling beside him, my heart thundering. Baby, don't move, okay? Just stay still. You might have... That's enough, my mom snapped behind me, slapping her palm on the table. Stop coddling him. He needs to toughen up. Look at your sister's kids. They don't cry about everything. Right on cue, my sister Jenna came waltzing in like she was descending a royal staircase. Her daughter, my niece, little Miss Princess Ava, trailed behind her with her usual pout. Jenna looked at Mason, rolled her eyes, then turned to my parents. What happened now? She sighed, like Mason was an inconvenience instead of injured. He fell, Dad grunted. But he's fine. He doesn't look fine, I said sharply. He hit his knee and his head. But before I could finish, Ava tugged Jenna's sleeve dramatically and let out a whine that sounded rehearsed. Auntie, I'm tired, she whispered, like she was auditioning for a sympathy award. And that's when everything inside me twisted into something sick. Because my mom, who refused to even stand up when my son fell down a flight of stairs, immediately jumped from her chair, arms wide, voice syrupy sweet. Oh, my poor baby. Come here, sweetheart. Grandma's got you. She rushed to Ava like she'd been waiting for the cue. Dad was already standing beside her, ready to help. Jenna smiled proudly, like her daughter had done something heroic simply by saying the words. They lifted Ava together, both of them, as if she were some fragile porcelain doll. My son was still on the ground, still crying, still clutching his knee. And my parents stepped over him to carry my niece to the couch. I froze. For a moment, I truly couldn't breathe. My parents cooed at Ava, fluffing pillows behind her head, fanning her with a magazine, giving her water like she had fainted in the middle of a marathon instead of complaining about being tired. Meanwhile, Mason was biting his lips so hard it broke the skin. Tears streamed down his face, and his breathing came in short hiccups. Jenna looked down at him and smirked. See, Mom, I told you, her kids come first. My parents didn't deny it, not even for a second. My mom shrugged like it was just logical. Well, of course, Ava's delicate, Mason's sturdy enough. Sturdy? I repeated, my voice cracking. He fell down the stairs. Dad waved a hand. Oh, for God's sake, boys gotta learn pain. Mom chuckled. And frankly, he shouldn't walk so clumsy. Maybe he'll learn, I snapped. He's bleeding! Dad didn't even look. Wipe it. Jenna leaned against the wall, arms folded, a smug expression dripping off her face. At least Ava doesn't make scenes. I wanted to scream. Instead, my voice came out low and shaking. He fell because his sock caught the step. It was an accident. And you step over him like he's trash while you carry her because she said she's tired? What is wrong with all of you? Dad's eyes turned cold, the same coldness I grew up surviving. What's wrong is you, always dramatic, always soft, always making that boy weak. He motioned toward Mason with disgust. No wonder he cries. You teach him to. Mom chimed in, almost gleeful now. Maybe he'd toughen up if you weren't raising him alone. Kids need a father. You're failing at that. My cheeks went hot. Mason looked up at me, confused, hurting, trying to process why the people he called grandparents didn't care about him at all. I lifted him into my arms, ignoring his cries of pain. "We're going home," Dad scoffed. "Running away again? Figures," Mom sneered. "Take your little storm cloud with you. This house doesn't need your negativity." Behind me, Ava giggled at something on the TV. They all sat comfortably, warm, dry, safe, while my son shivered in my arms, bruised and confused. That was the moment, right there, that something inside me cracked in a way nothing had cracked before. Because I realized something. My parents didn't just dislike my son. They wanted him to feel small, to feel invisible, to feel like he didn't belong, and I wasn't going to let them do that to him ever again. Not after what happened that night. Not after the truth I would uncover. Not after the revenge I would build piece by piece. In a way none of them saw coming. I kept replaying the moment in my head, my son tumbling down the stairs, his tiny palms scraping on every wooden edge, and the sound that followed, not gasps, not concern, but laughter. My mother's sharp, slicing cackle, my father's grunt of amusement, my niece being scooped up like royalty while my son was left crawling on the landing like he wasn't worth hands to lift him. For the next few days, something inside me felt unstitched. I moved around the house quietly, but inside, everything was loud. Every insult they ever threw at him echoed like they were still standing beside me. "Kids like him toughen up or break." "He cries too much, makes my ears itch." "You shouldn't have had him if he can't keep up." "You were always slow too. Guess he inherited trash." My son, Dylan, kept asking in his small, trembling voice, "Mom, did I do something wrong?" And I felt something in me snap every time. One evening, while I was cleaning the kitchen, my mom walked in with her usual thundering presence. She tossed her purse on the counter and said, "Your sister's coming over this weekend. Make sure the house looks decent. She hates mess." I swallowed. "Mom, Dylan hurt his ankle. I think he needs rest." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, he tripped. That's not an injury, it's personality. He just wants attention." He fell down an entire staircase. And life is stairs. If he cries at everyone, he'll never grow. That was the moment she pushed my shoulder with 2 fingers, hard enough to make her point. Don't make excuses for weakness. It's embarrassing. When my sister arrived that weekend with her daughter, little Princess Mia, who couldn't lift a pink plastic cup without being praised for her strength, my parents behaved like celebrities had landed. They showered her with snacks, toys, new shoes, and my mom went, "Look at her. Grace, intelligence, everything your kid lacks." My father chuckled as he carried Mia on his hip. "This one's the future of the family. Not that boy." Dylan was watching from the hallway, gripping the edge of the wall with good hand. His other arm was still stiff because of the fall. He whispered, "Why don't they carry me?" I was about to answer when my mother appeared and snapped, "Because you don't deserve arms around you until you earn it." Dylan's face folded. He turned away so fast he limped. I followed him, but he shut the door gently like he didn't want to bother even the air. By that night, I realized something. My parents weren't going to stop. They weren't going to soften. They weren't going to magically love the grandson they labeled a waste of space the first time he cried too loudly. They chose favorites long before he was born, but what came next wasn't weakness. It wasn't fear. It was planning. The next morning, my dad sent me out to buy groceries for their weekend breakfast. Eggs, bacon, waffles, berries. Your sister loves berries. Don't cheap out, and don't be long. Your sister hates waiting. I stared at him. She's 29, Dad. And you're 31. Yet she's the one who brings pride, and you bring chores. Some rolls stick. I walked to the store with my jaw locked so tightly I tasted blood. When I returned, I saw something that nearly made me drop the bags. My father was holding Mia as usual. My mother was feeding her grapes. But Dylan was in the backyard, alone, standing in the rain because clouds had broken early. His hair was soaked, his shirt clinging to him, his injured ankle wobbling as he tried to stay upright. He was shivering. I rushed out. "Dylan, baby, come inside." Before he could move, my mother yanked the sliding door shut in front of me. I froze. She looked at me through the glass with a calmness that chilled me more than the storm. "Don't pull him in yet. Rain builds character. The sooner he learns, the better." "He's 9, I shouted. "So? Some soldiers start younger," my father muttered behind me. "Boy needs spine." I shoved the door open so hard it slammed against the frame. I grabbed Dylan, pressed him into my chest, and held him tight. When I brought him inside, dripping, shaking, eyes red and unfocused, my mother raised an eyebrow like I'd just interrupted her favorite show. "You're creating weakness," she said. "You're creating a monster," I whispered. She laughed. "Oh, honey, monsters are born from people like you, the ones who can't handle life." She pointed at Mia, warm and dry. "Look at her. This is what a real child looks like." I wrapped a blanket around Dylan and he whispered into my shirt, "Mom, are we safe here?" My parents heard it. My mother smirked. My father chuckled. My sister looked away. That was the exact second something inside me aligned. Sharp, cold, purposeful. They thought I was weak. They thought Dylan was helpless. They thought they could push and shove and laugh forever. They had no idea what I was about to do. Not silent, not poetic, not gentle, not anything I'd ever done before. They wanted a monster? They were about to meet one. I spent the night replaying everything. My son's scream on the stairs, my parents' laughter, my niece wrapped in blankets like royalty while my boy shivered and tried to stay brave for me. By morning, something inside me wasn't just broken. It was done. But unlike before, I didn't walk back soft or hopeful. I walked back with a plan sharp enough to cut. I drove to their house unannounced, my son in the back seat with his little arm in the sling the doctor gave him after confirming, yes, his wrist was sprained, exactly what my parents mocked him for. He looked up at me nervously. "Mom, are they going to yell again?" "No," I whispered, squeezing his hand. "Today, they listen." When my parents opened the door, they looked irritated like I'd interrupted their peace again. Mom crossed her arms. Dad rolled his eyes. Mom spat first. "What now? Did your fragile boy break a nail?" Dad added, "Tell him to man up. Crying is for the useless." I smiled, too calmly. That always scares people like them. "I'm here for something simple," I said, stepping inside. "Truth." Mom scoffed. "Truth? You've never handled truth." I cut her off. "No, I just never weaponized it like you." Dad opened his mouth, but before he could speak, I turned toward the living room where my sister, Erica, sat with her daughter, my niece, the princess of the family, perched on her lap like she owned the house. Erica smirked. "Did your little crybaby finally—" I stopped her too. "Sit still. You're all going to hear this." My parents froze. They weren't used to me talking without shaking. I pulled out the folder I'd been building for weeks. Pictures, texts, videos, voice notes, statements from neighbors, the school counselor, all documenting every incident my parents had brushed off, laughed at, or blamed me for. I set it on the table. Mom's smile faltered. Dad shifted in his chair. "What is all this?" Mom demanded. "Your pattern," I said. "Your cruelty, your neglect, your favoritism. But most importantly, your treatment of my child." Dad scoffed. "What are you going to do? Cry to someone? We raised you. We can talk to our grandkids however we want." I leaned in. "Maybe, but you can't be near them." Mom blinked. "Excuse me?" I took out the official letter, the one from Child Protective Services. Not because I reported them, but because the doctor, the one who saw my son's wrist, did. Mandatory reporting laws. The universe finally stood on my side. I laid the letter gently in front of them. Mom grabbed it first. Her hands began to tremble as she read. Dad leaned over and the color drained from his face. "The investigation starts today," I said quietly. "They'll be interviewing neighbors, school staff, and anyone who's seen how you treat my son. And guess what? Everyone has stories." Mom stood up abruptly. You wouldn't do this to us. We're family." "You did it," I corrected. "When you laughed while he cried." I looked at Erica. "When you let your daughter watch him suffer." Then back at my parents. when you carried a perfectly fine child instead of helping the one who was hurt. Erica stood up, panicking now. We'll lose custody of Lily. Mom, Dad, do something. Dad pointed at me. You evil little— No, I said again, sharper this time. Not evil. Protective. Mom grabbed my wrist. You can't take our grandkids. You already did, I said. You took my son's safety, his confidence, his trust, so I'm taking something back. They followed me to the door, begging now, voices cracked, faces as pale as paper. Please, please don't take them away. I opened the door and turned one last time. You should have thought about that, I said softly, when he was lying on your stairs crying and you laughed. My son stepped outside first. He didn't even look back, and that's when my parents finally broke. The panic, the realization, the collapse, it hit all at once. Dad fell to the couch like his legs gave out. Mom slid down the wall, sobbing into her hands. Erica froze completely, clutching her daughter like she might disappear. I walked away, breathing for the first time in years. My son whispered, Mom, are we safe now? I looked at him. Really looked. Yes, baby, I said, voice steady. We are. Because for once, the ones who hurt us were the ones left crying. And we didn't look back. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.